go ahead and get started. I just want to let everyone know that on July 4th, this building got hit by lightning and it took all of our microphones and what have you out. So we are going to try to project ourselves, but you might want to move closer to be sure that you hear everything we say. We do have a piece of equipment that is going to pick up our voices for the live stream. So just so you know that. Okay, okay. First thing we're gonna do is approval of the June 2nd minutes. May I have a motion and second, please?
So moved. Second.
Okay.
I will abstain because I was not here.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. All right. All in favor of approving the minutes from June 2nd, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The June 2nd minutes, yes. Thank you. We are now going to turn it over to our attorney to recommend a municipal prosecuting attorney.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Mayor. So the city attorney, their office appoints the prosecuting attorney for the municipal court pursuant to both the charter and the code of ordinances. And I have recommended to the and then it's approved by the council. So I have recommended one of my colleagues, Malia Falahi, to serve in that position. She has been working with me on city matters for the last year. She's been training for the prosecuting attorney position for the last several months. Our current prosecuting attorney is going to roll off to spend more time with his family. His wife is about to have a baby. And so
As are you?
as am I, but I'll still be.
Okay.
I'm not going anywhere. So I'm requesting that the council approve Malia as the next prosecuting attorney for the city of Kirkwood pursuant to the code and charter. Thank you.
Yes. I like the fact that she went to St. Louis University Law School.
Yes, she is from St. Louis County and has lived here before.
Questions of anyone?
Not being as familiar with our charter or ordinances, I would prefer to see us have more diversity amongst our legal team, and that would be my opinion. Obviously, if our charter says our city attorney selects and brings it to us, there's nothing I can do about this, but I would like to see more diversity.
Female, that's pretty good.
Not diversity as in that, diversity as in a different law firm, a different organization, a different perspective, a different point of view. That's the diversity I'm referring to.
Anybody else? So.
Just ask Jackie, what do you need? Is this vote in here or is it legislation?
You can vote.
Okay, then we'll need a motion in a second.
Okay. You have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second that.
Okay, very good. Any more conversation? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carries. Okay, we are now going to do a update on future water rates. And Chris, I think you're gonna help with that.
Good evening. Does everybody hear me?
Yes.
Oh, Elvis.
Karaoke.
My phone. Did you find it, Chris? We're gonna restart it.
Oh.
Everybody hear me now?
There you go.
Okay, everybody hear me now?
Big
kind
echo,
I don't know. Echo.
of echo.
very echoey.
The bass is loud.
Karaoke.
I don't know if I can change that.
Well, it sounds better, actually. Maybe you
Yeah.
need to put it.
Just leave it out.
I'll just, I won't have it as close as to my mouth.
Yeah,
Is that better?
yeah.
Okay, I will try to do my best throughout the presentation, keep it right there. All right, good evening. We're here to talk about the update to water rates for the city of Kirkwood, and the Kirkwood Water Department. First off, I want to explain that the city of Kirkwood Water Department commissioned and hired CMT to do a water master plan update. Our last master plan update was in 2014. This one was completed in 2025. And so the main reason for that was to get an updated list of priority water mains to do for the next 5 years. We also did an updated hydraulic model to identify where we have system and inefficiencies of the system so that we can better identify where we need to replace the water main and where we're spending our dollars is the most efficient. So we did also a risk assessment and throughout the Kirkwood water system. That was a desktop review based on the number of water main breaks, the age of the pipe, and also the material of the pipe. So we have, I'll cover a little bit on the next slide, but we have about 80% of our system is cast iron. So cast iron is prone to leakage throughout the system, but we do not, we do have main breaks because of that, but that is not the only reason why we have main breaks. It can be due to soil conditions can cause main breaks, and also the type of water main it is. So like I said, it's the this master plan prioritized the list of water main projects for the next 5 years. And it also recommended a 1.5% replacement rate. It looked at several levels of replacement rate, other levels was at 2.3%, and then the other one I believe was 0.75. And so looking at Kirkwood size and what our citizens could take and what we think we could handle, the study concluded that a 1.5% replacement rate was the correct percentage going forward. Excuse me, actually, I misspoke. It was a 1%, not a 0.75%. So as you can see, highlighted here is the 1.5%, which represents 2.2 miles of water main. We have a total of 148 miles in our total system. 80% of that, or 111 miles, is cast iron. I've got some figures here that represent if we replace that 1%, I'm sorry, 1.5%, it would take us 50 years to get all of the cast iron. I'm not saying it's necessary to do that, but within the next 50 years, that long-term investment of what I'm outlining in here today, all of the cast iron could be completely eliminated in 50 years. So I want to go over how we base our replacement costs per square foot. So we have $450 per foot of main replacement. which includes both construction and design. The table below shows 5 years of projects that the Kirkwood has bid out, we designed and have constructed, with having a just under $400 as an average cost to get these projects shovel ready and into replacement. So as you can see, these early projects, Parkwoods and Northland, Southland, those are on the lower end. These projects are in relatively low trafficked areas compared with Big Bend and Guy. Those have a lot of traffic on them, so that's some variability in the projects. Also, it goes to there's the number of service lines that connect into the water main as a driving force in the cost, and so that has a factor in it as well, because every time we go and replace the main, we make a service transfer over to the main. To go over a little bit of what water line sizes we have throughout the city. They're broken down in different rate classes: commercial, commercial electric, a large user, a residential, which is the largest amount of service lines, and then larger water user. Then it's broken down by meter size. Just to clarify, our rates do not differentiate between commercial, residential. However, we have the ability to do so. But the rates, a commercial property doesn't pay anything different than a residential property. But they are based on the meter size. So you can see down here that they may have a 2 or 3 inch meter for a commercial, or even up to 6 inch meter, and that's what they do that base price. So another thing that water systems throughout the country are facing is lead service line removals, replacing them with copper lines. It is a mandate that we have a program by the EPA and Missouri DNR to eliminate lead service lines, and they've mandated by 2037 that these be all eliminated. So I have the listing of all we have a total of 10,258 service lines that serve Kirkwood. 8,000 of those are copper. We have identified, we have 587 that are confirmed as lead. We have 209 that are confirmed as galvanized. And then we have 1462, the amount that we do not know. We send out annual letters to residents to try to get either invite us into their home, see if we can make an inspection. We also have a online map that shows, and you can get your phone out to public. You can get your phone out and you can hit the QR code, goes directly to this map, and it shows what Kirkwood Water has identified your service line units. So the big thing is trying to get our unknowns down so that we can identify how much this is going to cost us. And so also I've listed a lead service lines at kirkwoodmo.org email address that you can email to request an inspection, or if you have done the test that we identify on the website that through that QR code, we will have to, you can let us know that you've done those tests, and then we'll verify that those tests are correct, and then we can update your information on the GIS. So that was just some ancillary information that I wanted to put out, and now we'll talk about rates. And so as as we said in the master plan, it's a 1.5% main replacement. That's what we're striving for. And the financial. Next slide. I know it's a busy slide, and if there's questions, we can clarify, but on the FY27, which is your most left column there, that's our current fiscal year. As of April 1, 2026, there was a rate increase of 5%. That's already been completed. That's shown in our rate revenue. And FY28, we are proposing a 0 increase. Going forward, it's an 8.5%, and then off in FY30. Now, this is a first pass through to the council. We are open to different rates if the council did wish to decrease that 8.5, we can spread that over 2 years. So it's not a large increase to our residents. So this is I'm going to try to do a big picture on this. But there's capital expenses, but we start off with operational expenses in that second blue line. That includes our wages that we pay for our water workers, all of our benefits as well. Within that number, that's also purchase water. And so we purchase all of our water from Missouri American, and we distribute it. So we do not treat any water. We only distribute our water. So the big takeaway from this is to maintain a reserve of at least $2 million. And so we've built up enough cash to sustain that until 29, and then that's why I'm saying that we need a rate increase to maintain that reserve of $2 million. And I'm going to go back to this if there's any if there's questions. On this slide shows what a Kirkwood water resident Kirkwood resident pays currently, which is in that first upper left corner, a total of $64.63. Based on what we know today, if we were under Missouri American, that same bill would be $56.74. The big thing that I want to say that on July 1st, 2026, Missouri American Water proposed a rate increase, an additional average $26 per month. That's a 30% increase to the Missouri Public Service Commission. You can see in FY28, that would lead to a bill of $72.91. They also passed a water infrastructure surcharge fee in March 1st of 2026. And so that did add some, it's about $1.50 to the current bill.
For how much that?
$1.50.
$1.51, sorry. The primacy fee is a fee that goes through Missouri DNR, and then the service line repair fund, that is if you have a broken line. St. Louis County has a program where it repairs the main and by 100% of the cost. So every resident is charged $1 on their bill.
Quick question, where's the the tax that's paid back to Kirkwood. Don't they have, they're paying a tax back to Kirkwood on the Missouri American bill?
Yeah.
By ordinance, the utilities are supposed to reimburse us or pay us back like 6% or 6.5%. The
Yeah.
utilities they have in Kirkwood, which would be,
From Ameren and Missouri American.
So,
Well, if those bills have a tax that comes back to Kirkwood.
correct, you're
Right,
correct.
that's what I'm asking.
Oh, sorry.
What is that?
Yeah.
Because that's a
Is that
part
here?
of Missouri Ameren's bill, Missouri American's bill has.
The gross receipts tax, is that what you're?
Yes,
referring
it's
to?
yes, it's some kind of, yes.
You mean the bill from us purchasing the water?
No, no,
No,
no,
no,
no, no, no, no, no.
No.
The residents who have Missouri American have a bill that includes all these things, that also includes a tax they pay to Missouri American that comes back to Kirkwood.
Correct.
Oh,
Just like Cameron.
Right,
Just like
Yes.
Ameren.
right,
Spire.
right.
How many
All of
Missouri
Missouri,
American homes do we have?
right.
Not too many, right?
Bunch, all of Meacham.
All of Meacham is serviced by Missouri American,
Yeah.
and then there's only a few sprinkled throughout Kirkwood, I would say a dozen.
so are we collecting that fee?
That gross receipts tax, whatever utility tax, there's something on there, I don't know what it's called.
It's like a 6% tax.
Correct, something in that range.
Yes, I'm just trying to account for that in all of these negotiations and spreadsheets. To make sure, again, this is our 5th version of this, and I would like to have consistent information to look at. But that's part of a Missouri American bill.
As part of the Missouri American bill, I don't know how that bill is. So that, do they pass on that 6.5% to, or 6% to the customer? So is that?
The customer pays that, and that goes back to the city.
Goes back.
I think
Eventually.
it's my understanding that you get that back because that's what they pay back in order to use the right of way within your cities to provide their
So the
service.
question is, looking at this bill up here, the one in the middle, for example. Is that 6% included in there somewhere in the base fee, the water consumption, surcharge, the privacy fee, or the service? Right, or is that 6% in there somewhere?
I don't think you, at least I didn't ask about that.
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that it's included within their fee, and then Missouri American Water pays to the city that they operate in.
Yeah,
So
it's
It's
a
not a
separate.
separate line that residents can see.
And part of that is to know what the revenue is. Again, that's gonna flip to revenue for the city. And to pull that out as city revenue that we're getting.
So are you suggesting maybe that the numbers he has up there, let's use the $56.74 is not correct, it should be $56.74 plus 6%?
That's what I'm trying, that it's not for all customers, but there is a portion that it does. So again, I don't know how to capture that revenue for the city that Missouri American customers are paying.
That's a separate issue. The issue right now.
Right, but that is part of the bill.
Can we find out?
Yeah,
Okay, okay,
that's something we can pull up
Okay,
there and
great.
see how many of those apply.
right. Okay, thank you.
But it's only fair to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples, because if
I
you
understand, yeah.
Right, right.
Okay, I wanted to clarify that this is for what, if you have a 3/4 inch meter, this represents 5,366 Kirkwood residents. So there's the next spreadsheet, has a different meter size and they paid a different amount. So I just wanted to clarify that. And then, so the middle is just that 30%. If the PSC approves that 30%. The last bill there shown at the bottom of the page is based on historical approvals from the PSC, that they can get between 10 and 12%. In 25, the last time they went to the PSC, they asked for 34% and got 10.8%. So that last series of numbers is based on a 10%, 10.8% increase. And they're only allowed to go to PSC every other year for a rate increase.
And Missouri Americans replacement rate. I think we understand from the PSC that it's 0.8%.
Yeah, so that is, it's varied each year. However, our dealings with and our meetings with the PSC, they've averaged about 0.8%. So the numbers you see here, there's no assurance or guarantee that Missouri American Water is going to replace our mains the same rate as at 1.5%.
Chris, can you explain that why our base fee is higher than Missouri American and why their water consumption is higher? So I think one of the things that stood out to me is the ratios are different. And then we have the infrastructure renewal fee that seems to be separated out. And how does that work, and where are we seeing that line item revenue? Like, is that broken out in your budget that we set that line aside for infrastructure?
So I'll just the first
Sorry,
question.
lots of questions.
That's okay. The first question, I'll try to do my best, but the first question, the variability in the base fee. So for a 3/4 inch meter, we charge $19.14, whereas Missouri American Water is only $11. They have a different schedule of if you have a 3/4 inch or 1 inch up to 2 inch, all the way up to 6 inches is a different meter size. It's a considerable difference. You can see it's just over $8 more that Kirkwood Water residents are paying. And so on the next slide, if you have a 1 inch meter, it jumps considerably. For Missouri American, it goes up to $20.33. So on a 1 inch meter, which would affect 1,660 Kirkwood residents, they would now be paying $9 more, up to $20.30 on that base. I can't really explain why that difference is. I know prior to the 2025 rate increase, those base rates were changed. They actually reduced their base fee for 3/4, and I think that was an effort to make things more affordable for ratepayers. And that base fee, I believe, was around $17 or $18, and then they lowered it to $11.
They'll do the volume. Because a 3/4 meter moves far less than a 1 inch one. So that's probably a difference there. Why? Because Missouri American has to produce more water to match those loads.
I agree.
Okay, thank you.
Did I answer your first question?
I think so.
Okay. All right. So on the water consumption fee, so Missouri American Water does not break out their any type of infrastructure fee. They do have the water infrastructure surcharge fee that was added. But if you combine our water consumption and our infrastructure renewal fee, we're very comparable to their water consumption. So they're at $41 on the previous slide. They're $41.48 and we're at $43 or actually $44 if you combine those. But the infrastructure renewal fee, that is solely to try to account for how much water main we replace. So that was actually raised and several years ago in order to get to our 1.5%. And so our water consumption, so when we raised rates about 2 years ago, we left the base rate the same. And we raised the water consumption and the infrastructure renewal fee. And so to try to get more funds for water. Does that answer your question, Sheila?
Yeah. I reserve the right to ask questions later.
Same.
Let's see. I think that concludes my presentation for the council tonight. So I am open to questions at this point.
Chris, historically, in the past, have we always been under Missouri American?
Yes. Yeah, we've sort of
And that
been,
is why we've always kept our infrastructure so that we could be a benefit, show the benefit to our residents.
yeah, I think that's, that's one of the, selling points that, we should, we're a local owned water system. However, we've got this report, we've got, a lot of data that is supporting that we need to invest more, rather than, maybe putting it in an account and saving it. So the water department is a very healthy department right now. You can see on an earlier slide, our cash balance is doing quite well. And so we're very, we're in a good position to start our rates, and this 1.5%, and to get us to a point where we're reducing our water loss, we're replacing mains. So I think we've got a really good plan here if we can continue.
So, but in the past, we were transferring funds out of water to use for other projects, streets, et cetera. And that put us behind in the infrastructure upgrade. Am I saying that correctly? Would you say that it put us behind?
Yeah, so there was a transfer coming out of water, and we can look at it to say that we could have been putting that to replace more mains. But that goes to the roads that we patch and make holes in. So there's a benefit for transferring that money, because when we patch a water main, after a water main repair, it's a 10 by 10 cut street. And then the engineering department does an overlay and can do the entire street, eliminating that patch in the street. So there is benefits in making that transfer, funding streets. I understand the situation.
And how closely do you work with our street department with regards to main replacements? Any work that you've got to do that would affect streets?
Yeah, we work really closely. The water department works really closely with streets and our engineering department to combine water and street projects together, so we get our best bang for our buck. And also less disruption to residents. You can complete projects in short durations, do both the water main and the street at the same time, or concurrent, or one after the other. And so also we've taken most of our water repairs or street restoration out of contract and taken those to the street department. We're doing all of those in-house. We're doing those much more time efficient and less cost that an outside contractor could do it. And that was as of April 1 we started.
Mayor, I have some along your same
Sure.
lines. So just kind of continuing, was there an amount we transferred from water department regularly?
Yes, so the research I've done is that those transfers started in 2008.
And about how much per
And it
year?
was not, it didn't start at what it ended at. So it ended at $710,000 was the
Per
amount
year?
per year.
And then water department transfers always went to streets and supporting street, whether it was repairing or spider cracks or just redoing streets? Do you know if you always transferred to streets?
To my knowledge, yes, it was
So
always the
the
street.
best you know, none of your money went to general funds,
That's correct.
and the best of your knowledge, your money never went to K-PAC or to help buy Mrazek.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sheila?
So, Chris, do you know there's a line on back, let's go back a slide, I think. On here, the CAPS funding that you're showing 2,000,001 this year, 600,000 next year. Is that an anticipated another CAPS that we're looking at? Was that
This
from
is,
when?
this is an existing COPS that was from 2024.
That's part of the 2024 CAPS.
Mhm.
Okay. And so part of this projection is to not borrow any money at all.
Yes, we did
Right.
look at scenarios about borrowing other money. And we, but that was not landed.
Because it was more expensive in the long run.
Yes, so, yeah. There's debt service you have to pay over a long period of time. And so, due to our current debt, we didn't want to borrow anymore.
Okay. So what we're looking at is versus borrowing and getting ourselves more in debt. We would have to burden and raise more money some other way in order to pay for these
Yeah,
infrastructure.
yeah.
If
which
we didn't do a rate increase, we did no rate increase in the future, what pace do you anticipate you would be at? Did you run the scenarios, like if you did no rate increase after the one we did this year? Do we know like over the next, because if I look at the debt service and when that starts to flow out, right? So that was kind of where I was like, oh, where do you pick up some extra money?
Yeah. Yeah, you can see that in FY31, our debt service falls off.
Right.
Considerably. We cut it in half. I didn't specifically run a scenario of no rate increases. We could definitely do that. My feeling is the percentage, if you're asking what the percentage of water main, we really have to, we could replace under that scenario. But it's basically a falling number over the next 3 years. So, I could, it comes down to, then I'm back down to 0.6 and 0.8% replacement.
Just asking some clarifying questions to understand. The other thing with regards to this, just to make sure I understand. You mentioned that, is it that? I'm trying to understand this pipe size right? And how that impacts things. So like, does that equate to the square foot of a house? Like, maybe Paul, you can explain this to me because I'm like, I don't understand.
Fixture load, so. Been waiting my turn, my agency, so, in St. Louis County, there's typical house. Before was a 3/4 inch service coming into the house, but what they did at Missouri American Water was they kicked up the pressure. So sometimes in some areas, you're 200 plus PSI, so you have to step it down. What Kirkwood's got is a different scenario. They don't have high pressure. Down on Adams there is, because we're down below the water tower over on Doughty Ferry. Majority 65 PSI and in that range, correct?
Probably a little lower.
Okay, so we're a little lower. So what you do is when you do that, when you lower the pressure, you have to put a larger pipe in to move the volume of water that you need in a home. So by code today in Kirkwood, it's based on the fixture load. It's the same in St. Louis County. So if you got a bigger house, you're going to have more fixtures in it. And then that's what the service line coming in is supposed to be matched with, as well as the meter be matched with it. Sometimes they put a step down meter in there with a larger service, but you're still trying to move the volume.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Do you have any? I have a bunch, so I'll try not to take up the next hour. So this is the 5th version in the last 6 months, correct? I've had 4 or 5, so we seem to kind of keep tweaking it,
Yeah, I would say that
which, you know,
four of those were during the water subcommittee. And so there's a lot of things that they either found or wanted to have more numbers on, more information. And that's why we had 5 different versions of it.
so to say this hasn't been easy and we keep tweaking it to try to make numbers work or sense or whatever, so.
Try
But
to accurate numbers.
yeah, right,
Yes.
which tells me getting accurate numbers is probably difficult. Because some of it's concrete and some of it's projection, so you're never gonna be perfectly accurate. So let me focus on your fiscal year 27 numbers. You have your operational expenses as 5.8 million. The budget book has it as 13 million. What's the difference between what you're reflecting on this first page and what's in the budget book? What does that number reflect?
You're only talking operation from the budget book. That doesn't include capital.
That's, I'm sorry, it's on the wrong, I was on revenue page. Operation, I think, was 12 million. If you take 5 out of capital, we still have about 7 million. So, but you got here 5. I would just, right, but again,
That's operational expenses.
but the 12.6 is the total expenditures in our budget book.
Okay.
Minus the 5.1 of capital gives us about a 7.1. I just want to know what else is left out of this 5.8 number. That would be my question. So that seems low, and then we start jumping up. So again, wanting to know what those operational expenditures are accounting for. The other thing is what is the loss in electric being covered by this fiscal year 27 budget? Where is that reflected? Because your ending balance is got some restrictions in that. And what is that total restricted ending balance? And again, knowing that we got 15+ million over years that are going to have to be covered by some of the funds, what is being restricted? I don't see that ending balance of 6 million as something that you have access to right now. I don't know, Darren, do you know that answer?
I don't know that answer. I've had to research.
Okay, so that's a question that I continue to have is,
Just
what is our,
address one question is the beginning balance you see there, 5.2 million. That's the amount of cash that's in the water department.
that's what you started with this year. Yeah, so I'm looking at your ending balance. I just want to, I'm going to the bottom of this. So what in that is gonna be restricted or unrestricted is my question, because that is not all unrestricted cash to be rolling over. Because then you show that same 6 million as your beginning balance of 28, which may not be your beginning balance of 28 if there's several million that's covering the losses in electric. So
Yes,
I question-
these numbers do not cover any covering losses in the water, in the electric.
in the electric, okay, so those numbers are a little squishy for me.
This is strictly just looking at the water department, standalone. And that number you're looking for is gonna change, could change in a year depending on what different councils decide to do.
Right, but if we're
So
deciding,
we're not, don't knock holes in something he has.
right, I'm just trying to
The
get,
first one's a good question on
Right.
the operation.
well, thank you. I'm just trying to get clarification so that we know, because eventually we may have the conversation about what's it gonna take to continue, or do we explore a sale? So I want information that helps me make that decision, and I want
That's a different discussion. I think tonight we're just looking just at.
But it's all
operation.
part of this discussion.
it,
No, this is
all-
water rates. This is
Right.
not- this is
And you
not
cannot
sale.
compare water rates without comparing what our residents would be paying if we weren't managing the department. If he's gonna have costs on here of what Missouri American Water costs, why can we not discuss what it would, if that's what we're discussing? We're comparing it to another
We
entity.
gotta be careful how far you go down that line, because it's not on the agenda. It's my.
I'm asking.
You have Missouri American Water rates on the presentation given to us by
Yeah.
staff.
I'll-
It is part of the
I'll-
discussion.
Council.
Yes.
On how far down the line we go.
I'm asking about the financials.
Gina,
What?
I was looking at the budget book compared to what he's got. He pulled the debt service out, so in the budget book under expense that has the debt service, and he's got a separate line for it. So yeah, it makes it harder to understand your 11 million,
Yes.
because the 11,882 that's in the operating budget book here is divided out in your spreadsheet.
Yes, and
So
the
it
reason
takes
why
a little
that is because we know exactly what that debt service is over the 10-year period. Those operational expenses, I have a 4% escalation factor in that, and that's what I'm projecting, and that's an estimate.
That's for the cost of water. Is that what you're talking, 4%?
That's all operational expenses.
I will try to stay on target with asking agenda questions, but I still have more. And if you wanna object,
I'll refer to
if you,
Jackie. I
if
just-
Jackie would like to object, let me know. I'll play legal law, courtroom.
I don't have yet.
Yeah, we used to have one. Okay, so that, well, I won't go to that one because that will stir some conversation. Waterworth in 2023 did a water rate study that recommended that we have an unrestricted reserves 75% of operational expenses. Which, depending on how you interpret that operational expense line, could be upwards of potentially 5 million or more. They also recommended 3 million of reserves because our water mains were so old, we had to prepare for emergencies. So the 2 million of reserves that I think was calculated is way understated. Now we have Waterworth saying one thing, you have, CMT saying, or Ref Talis say one thing. We have our Citizen Finance Committee that has recommended, I believe it's 100%. So we have our own internal policies, but then we have consultant recommendations. And again, I just find that a target of a 2 million cash reserves, given the age of our system, is estimated. I think that is a lowball reserve target. So I don't expect that you will.
How did you get to that, Chris? Can you tell us that?
So Raftellus is our latest consultant that we have a rate analysis done, and that's what they recommended was a $2 million reserve policy.
Right, and it's a consultant, we have our citizen finance committee, we've had policies that this previous councils have agreed to. We've tried to get those updated, I feel more comfortable with our citizen finance group, but that's my own personal opinion.
Do they know water?
Yes,
Does Rip tell us a water?
Raf Tellis is a professional and water rate studies throughout the country.
well, in our CFC, I know Randy just is quite extensively studied on this, and I actually put together a spreadsheet on CFC's report for the last, several years, and 5 out of 6 years, they made a recommendation that we've not followed through on. So I have a lot of confidence in our own CFC that understands the Kirkwood financial, so I am betting on them. Let me ask, let me see a couple more. So again, I think that's under projected. The average cost calculations that you factored in on your second page of second page of your presentation, were you doing the 398 as your average cost, which is a cost plus 10%?
The 398 is a cost plus 10%, so that's the average of all those projects together. That's how we arrived at the 450 to even pad our numbers more. Then we added another $50 per foot on top of the almost $400.
So your 450, where does that number come into your spreadsheet as your costs, expenses on your water main replacement? And you and I've emailed you before, just trying to see if you could give me the formula by which you use to get to your replacement numbers. And so this kind of ties to that. If you're using a 450 times whatever, do you have a formula that shows how you got to your numbers?
Yeah, so I'll explain it. So $450 is the per foot cost. Per mile, it's $2.3 million per mile. To replace 1.5% of the system, I need to replace 2.2 miles of water main. 2.2 million miles of water main, utilizing the 2.3, you get 5.2. That 5.2 number is what I'm projecting starting in FY28 as the expense for water main replacement.
So 2 of the years you calculated were COVID years. Those appear to be pretty consistently low. If you took those out, it really was a 430 average. Again, another 50 again. It all depends on what numbers go into what formula, go into what. I mean, that could put it up as high as 480. And if you add that $50 you added in there. The other thing with this is, so you got a 10% cost adjustment there, and then you also do a compounding inflation on your expenses as well. So you've got additional compounding numbers in there, right?
That's correct. Yes.
And then just a couple of the half-cent sales taxes that was brought up, that's years and years ago was put in place and voted on, was for streets, sidewalks, and all of that. But over time, that's a capital improvement tax was to cover streets and sidewalks, and now lots of fire equipment, other types of things. It's all the capital. So we didn't always rely on transfers for streets, but that was part of the capital sales improvement tax. And your transfers don't go into a street capital project from electric and water, did it? I mean, or did it just go in the pool? David might be able to answer that, into the capital sales tax, and then you all moved it around to whatever needed to be covered.
The funds were not in a dedicated street fund for capital expenses, they could go to capital expense. There's a portion increase in the amount of street work that's been done in the last few years.
But it didn't go specifically into it, it was into the pool, and then you allocated based on what you needed for capital for each year. Correct? Okay. And then see one other, and then I'll let somebody else talk. No, I had another,
We'll come back to you.
okay, great.
Does
thank you.
anybody else have something? Paul?
a couple.
Okay.
So the first one is. What revenue do we get from water that we sell goes back into our general revenue that helps pay for everything in Kirkwood? Or are we just maintaining what we have by the rates that we're charging? Where is the benefit other than we're maintaining our own water distribution? What does Kirkwood get?
In this scenario, there's no benefit.
There's no revenue.
There's no revenue.
We're just that's where I'm going to. Get ahead. So there's $0 coming to Kirkwood for doing this. We're just maintaining so that we can say that we own our own water company.
At this point, however, future councils could say, I could reduce the investment into the water department.
Sure, that's what we did already.
And put back that transfer back into place.
Correct, and that's what we did. What that was somebody else's idea was that we were supposed to get a dividend back in the day for this, and now we're rob Peter to pay Paul. So here we are. We're trying to make a silk purse out of a sow's ear here. So that's the problem here that I have. We're exposing all this liability to the city for our water department, and we don't have our own water. It would be totally different if we were back to when we had our water and we were, and I'm not picking on you, I'm just out here just talking. We had our own water. We got our own water for free out of deep wells that were down in not artesian wells. They were coming out of an aquifer that was the Ruby Dew aquifer that's underneath us. Well, that made perfect sense to keep the water. But then previous council, 2005 said we weren't going to build a new plant because they didn't want to spend the millions of dollars. But they did spend the millions of dollars to do interconnects with Missouri American Water so that we had it. And we spent many dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars to do more interconnects throughout Kirkwood so that we would increase our flow and increase our pressure throughout Kirkwood. So my question is, why are we continuing to go down this rabbit hole when there's other than that we can walk around and say we own our own water distribution department, not a water department, because we don't produce our own water. And in 2042, 2043, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to go back and have to renegotiate with Missouri American Water to whatever rate they want to sell it to us wholesale versus what we're doing selling it retail. These are all retail numbers that you're showing here based on reselling it at retail, just like Missouri American Water sells it at retail to their customers. So I'm totally trying to wrap my head around the benefit here. We've had all these studies. I've watched them. I've looked at them, $90 million here to do a 10-year deal. I'm looking at the projection out here. I'm on my, over half of our customers are 3/4 inch meter services that we have. We got 10,000 and some customers. So the numbers on 1 inch and larger are minuscule, well, not minuscule, but less than half. And so I'm trying to understand why we want to continue this liability down the road. Nothing's going to get cheaper. We've lost 9 of our people that were our key people that knew where shutoffs were and stuff like that. So now we're subcontracting out work that we're having done in Kirkwood. If we have a Watermageddon in the future, what are we going to do there? I'm just trying to wrap my head, and I'm one vote, and I understand that, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around what is the benefit other than we walk around town and say, hey, we own our own water department, water distribution. where is there a
What about
benefit?
the 1.5% replacement?
Pardon me?
What about the 1.5% replacement?
Well, and that's not a problem. I have no problem with that, but there's
No,
no.
but I mean, isn't that an advantage for us?
Well, not if you sell it. If you
Right.
sell it,
Right.
then we take money that somebody would offer us, and we should look into that as good stewards of the city. We should look at that. And they've made commitments that they're going to do infrastructure already. One company that we've talked to indirectly. So we don't know where we're going until we actually ask the questions and get the information and bring it back to 7 people up here and let us all make a decision on that. That's all I'm asking for. We know where we're at here. And again, back to Gina's point, we've looked at this 4 or 5 times. The numbers get changed around, but it still doesn't come down to where is the benefit to the citizen of Kirkwood to not have that liability, and what revenue are,
The liability.
well, a liability, well, you have machinery that you're gonna buy, which is in here that we won't have to buy. We don't, if there's a federal something that happens, we don't have to make that up anymore. We don't have to do the lead line service replacements. They'll take care of that. Somebody else who would take ownership of our water will be federally required to do all of that. And I understand there's money out there. You talked about there's money out there
From
to do
Vienna.
some of that. Yes,
Vienna.
and I want that all on the table so everybody knows that there's nothing there. There's $2 million out there that they'll help us out with. Am I correct in that kind of that number?
Yeah.
We'll get 800,000.
800,000. Okay, so,
Oh,
but we
we
don't,
can take out a loan for 2%.
and we could, and I have no problem with that. If that's what the citizens want to do is take on more debt when we're $100+ million in debt now, I'm just trying to look at this rationally and
Well, I think
reasonably.
that's what we're all.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm not
And I
making
think
light
we
of
all
that.
are interested in making sure that it's whatever's in the best interest of our
Absolutely.
citizens. That's
Absolutely,
what they deserve.
absolutely, and that's not the debate I'm having with you. And it's not even a debate. Just want to bring up the facts. I want to bring it back to everybody and let everybody here at council. That's why we got elected, to make the hard choices. Bring it back to council. Let's sit and have Darren meet with somebody. Lucky you. And
Well, you've been meeting with them already, haven't you? Paul?
well, we did here.
Yes.
We all did
Yes.
at City Hall here. He came here, and so yes. So, and I'm fine with that. That's just one of the entities that are out there that we could put an RFP out and say, hey, who's interested in buying our
Yeah,
water?
there's hedge funds that purchase.
Sure.
water systems and.
Sure, and we can look into all that, but Missouri America Water is already here. Missouri America Water completely surrounds us. Missouri America Water is now selling
And
us
they're
water.
very aggressive. There must be some dollars in here because they're very aggressive about wanting to buy our system. Well,
I don't know that I would use the term aggressive. I would tell that they're trying to give us options. That the city sees the options that they're
well, you've
going
been
to
talking
bring.
to them. What are the options?
Well, that's something that we should talk about under contract, I believe, with have Darren meet with them with. How about our former water committee restarted back up and we meet with them for the sale part of it. I know that was ugly thing to be brought up, but it was our previous council.
I'm
George,
gonna jump in there. Keep your thoughts going, Paul.
Okay,
This discussion was for water rates going forward, and in fairness to Chris,
Yeah,
I'm not sure if Chris needs to be part of why should we keep it, why shouldn't we keep it in the big picture. I think that's kind of more for this group here. And.
but I want an open discussion about it, Mark. That's all.
And I'm okay.
That's all I've been asking
I'm
for.
okay with that.
Okay,
And whether that can happen tonight or not, we can have it tonight if council or our legal counsel says it's okay.
what do you think?
Jackie, I just confirm, Jackie, I think you make a good point that needs to go back on the water rate discussion. Am I correct? We need to go back to that direction, because that's what we posted
Okay,
at.
all right, so then along those lines, then I think what I'm hearing is that there's probably a majority of council members, Mayor, that would like to have a separate discussion.
Yes, yes.
And I would propose that we would do that. Defer to Jackie on this. In closed session initially, it's gonna be contract discussions.
That's why I
Not
said
to
that.
say it's not gonna be open at some point in time.
Correct.
But
Could we not have a conversation about the thought process of it without it being a contract negotiation?
Yes.
Could we not just have it? I mean, a contract means we have to have put out an RFP to get a contract,
Having
right?
the conversation.
And I still have some questions on the numbers, so if
Yeah.
we could, maybe, if we're gonna stick to the water rates discussion, I'd like to
Yeah.
finish that up real quick. So, Chris, couple things, these numbers are quite a bit different than what the water subcommittee got in March. Is that fair? I mean,
So
these
this is
are,
an update
this is an update, okay,
to those. So I got more up-to-date numbers.
Sure.
Like our cash balance is up to date and the projects are more up to date.
what is the? Because I'm looking at the water subcommittee numbers from March and the projected beginning balance for fiscal year 27 was 1.3 million. I'm assuming we carried over all that cash that you're talking about from fiscal year 26 to 5.8 million.
Yes.
What's that infusion of cash that we all of a sudden have available to put into the system? And why wasn't it going in previous?
So that is, we didn't spend as much in the last quarter of 26. And then we've been accumulating rate fees to increase that.
So, okay, so council just raised rates 5% in the March budget discussions, right? For this
Effective April 1, yeah.
the previous year, it was raised what percent?
Previous year was a average of 27%.
Okay.
That's
So 30-ish% over 2 years is what we've looked at the last two. Okay. All right. So that's why we have more cash now suddenly available, because our residents are paying more for their water.
yes.
On some of these, the Missouri American, they put out a proposal to raise their rates in July. The PSC process, my understanding is an 11-month process. So
Yeah.
those rates are not going into effect until mid-year next year if they got everything they want.
Yes.
My understanding of previous PSC, excuse me?
They never do.
Yes, they never get exactly what they're asking for, right? So that middle line to me, we can kind of throw out because they're not going to get the 30% from the PSC. I'm assuming that's why you left in that third line, which is kind of the average of what they have gotten over the last few
I
years.
didn't present them all.
Yeah, and I would just note that the water subcommittee, those rates, it was an average of 10%. Now we're showing a 10.8% increase. On the primacy fee, I don't know if I'm saying that right, primacy. DNR, according to their website, for connections of the size of Missouri American Water, that fee is $3.48 a year. Average that over 12 months, that's 29 cents. And we have it now as $1.75. So to me, I have like that fee wasn't that large in the March numbers. It's now really large in these numbers, and I don't find that it's accurate. Okay, and it's $1.50 almost off. So I'm having a little bit of trouble with some of these projections. The WISRA, I don't know if that's how you pronounce that, the water infrastructure charge. I have, I want to do more research on whether that number is actually the case. Have we ever met a 1.5 replacement rate? It may have not even been a goal of previous.
I'm sorry.
It may not have even been. a
It
goal.
is not the goal, it's always been 1%.
So
We have not, we've never replaced 1.5.
my point is that's a
We've
substantial,
1.2
okay,
in a previous year.
so a substantial step up from what we're currently doing, right? And I think in your numbers, you show the addition of 2 capital project managers, right, going in potentially next year. Do you have any concerns about meeting that big of an increase in capital over the next 10 years that we're projecting?
I don't, because the large amount, it's just project management over engineers and contractors. So it's not like I have to bring in 40 laborers and bring in all this big machinery or buy big equipment for it. It's all being contracted out.
You're dependent on the availability of external people being able to take the increase in.
And we've seen in our bids, we received multiple bids on water main projects. It's not unlikely I'll get 5 or 6 bids on projects.
The lead service line numbers, the lead service line replacement numbers, 400,000 this year, 800,000 for the next one. You think that meets us our goal by that 37 deadline? Isn't that what I heard you say?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. And then how much are we getting in to help with that? How much do you expect to get in to help with that?
Can you rephrase that?
How much money do you expect to receive in the department to help you pay for that type of replacement? So we're going through a process now to try to get DNR funds allocated to us, correct?
Yes.
So how much are we expecting to get over the next 10 years to help us pay for that?
From DNR?
Yes.
We anticipate 800,000, or I have to spend at least $2 million to get that 800,000. It's a reimbursement of 41%.
Okay. All right. And then, Chris, did you have any, I mean, I'm sure you're doing your best to come up with these rates of another company who's charging this, right? So you don't have access to what, you know.
They're publicly online from Missouri American Water's website. And so I get them directly from their website.
Right, okay. And again, I would just say, I see 2 charges in there that I think are maybe a little bit off. The thing about the PSC process, and I don't know if people understand this, they're required to have local public hearings about their rate case. Once it gets to the PSC, the Office of Public Counsel intervenes in that case and represents consumers to argue on their behalf. Before the PSC makes their decision on what they're going to actually get to take in. When Kirkwood raises rates, we have a public hearing at this council and then 2 readings. 1 reading.
1 reading.
So
And
we can
typically
choose.
it's a several work sessions for the budget,
No. No.
and typically we don't do it.
There's no vote. So it's okay. So it's 1 vote.
Mhm.
My point is, it's a heck of a lot easier to raise rates at this level than it is for an investor owned utility. I have a lot of, again, these numbers, it's hard for me to digest because they have changed so much. It's when we're talking about future rates and we're talking about an entity included in here, I don't think a council can make a decision without having all of the options available to them and study all of them. And when we've raised rates on residents 50% over the last 4 to 5 years, I think our residents deserve for us to lay everything out there, talk about it all, and then make the best decision. And I hope that this council chooses to do that in the near future.
Just a comment on the raising rates, since you brought that up. In 2023, we raised them 15%, then 20%, then 27%, and 5%. That's a compounded rate increase of 84% in 3 years and 1 day. So again, those rates have it, and as we're looking at even what you project, it's a serious increase compounded over the next 13 years. Again, I think those things have to be further flushed out.
Well, you raised the facts, but then look at, I guess, Missouri American Water has been those prior years. So that we've been on Missouri American those prior years, how much more we've been paying. I think the fact that what I take out of this is that I'm looking at just going forward, not looking backwards. And as you and Paul and everyone else is kind of said, what is the benefit of keeping this? And we can debate that in the face.
But
But-
we need the information.
Right,
We
That's
need
correct.
information.
and so to me, okay, if we, this is what I think Chris did a good job.
Yeah.
And I asked,
Yeah.
Justin to get with Chris on the numbers, because I'll be the first one to say if his numbers, you know, I talked to Chris about this, if these numbers aren't right, you know, it's his job.
So,
So, you know, so we need to go that route.
Which isn't fair to Chris. I mean, you know, I don't wanna set Chris up for failure. And so, again, the 1.5%, how much do we have in the pipeline for next fiscal year?
there we go.
You know, how much, what replacement are we gonna get done this year? It's what, 0.8% or something?
0.89 is what I have.
And then what do you have? Because again, an email you and I've exchanged before, it takes you 18 to 24 months from, you know,
Start.
design to actually pipes in the
Shovel-ready
with
project.
only 9 months out of the year probably workable in the field. So what's already in the pipeline now? What percentage of the to be completed in fiscal year 28? Do you have any idea?
So that we are designing for 1.5%, starting in FY 28.
Has that come to council?
Not yet, no,
Okay,
we still have to put out those projects for design.
to put out design, but that doesn't mean they'll be in the ground by fiscal year end 28.
That would be sometime in 28, I'm gonna come to you with construction contracts that represent 1.5%.
Okay, they won't be completed projects in
No.
28. Okay.
That also brings back, that's why we have so much cash in there, is because we haven't completed all the miles. We've collected the money, but we haven't done all the miles yet, correct?
If not, however, it takes
No,
9 months to
again,
get a project designed, to get it shown we're ready to get it out to bid.
I'm not upset with you, this
I'd
what
say
goes
18
on.
to 24 months.
Right.
So what I'm hearing now is a little different than what I heard a couple months ago. All right, so you plan on going out to bid, I think in August for some upcoming 1.5%? What do you?
No, so what, in August, I plan on going out for 90%. That's what I have in design right now, almost 100% plans, ready to go out for construction.
So for 0.89%, which would be done prior to fiscal year end 27. Which would be done by March 31 of 27.
So it'd at least be in construction by that point. Now, we can do water main work year round,
Okay, so.
unless we got -20 temperatures, but even
Fiscal year 28 begins April 1 of 27.
Mhm.
All right, and from what you and Gina were just discussing, in fiscal year 28. You don't think you think you have 1.5% done? Or 1.5% just a design and maybe out to bid?
my plan is to have 1.5% designed starting this year. So you're gonna see contracts for design in FY 27 for 1.5%. So they'll be ready, shovel ready to go to construction in FY 28.
And with the goal of completing them by fiscal year end 28.
I can't,
You can't.
I won't probably say that, it's gonna bleed over into 28.
Well, okay, I'm sorry, the timeline,
Yeah,
right?
it's beyond construction.
Under construction.
Yeah, but it's not gonna be complete, so
Right,
it
so
won't be,
some of them might, some of them might not.
right.
Okay, Sheila?
I just want everybody to know they're not sitting on their hands right now. Like, we've got the pump one station being replaced.
That's correct. We just finished 2 water main projects, one on Lockett, one on Woodgate. And then we've got, more projects on Rose coming up. Dory Ferry is also coming up. Those are 2 large projects that will be there currently in design, ready almost to be going out the door for bidding.
So it started to sound like nothing was happening right now, and I was like, no, there's things happening and there's things planned and a lot of it goes to that pump station. right? There's a big project,
Oh, yeah, that's a big, $2 million project.
$2 million project, so it's not like it's set.
Mayor, for me, the next step would be having a most likely work session where we can explore topics that we want more information from.
Correct.
Is that RFPs? Is that looking for bids that might be out there? It just even being able to explore the next step. If we talk about contracts, it occurs to me that we've obtained a contract and at current, I don't believe there is a current contract that's been offered to us. Right, so that for me would be the next step, that we get to explore what next steps could be and then go from there.
And I would add on, just again, that information, if the DNR loan is a part of the information that we need, I mean, those, even though it's a low interest, have to be secured. My understanding, either by revenue bond or geo bond. If we can have the specifics on that, revenue bond would be a rate backing, geo bond would be a property tax that all Kirkwood residents would vote on. So if DNR is it all in the mix, we need to.
Yeah, so these numbers don't take into account any other,
Okay.
any loan through DNR.
Well, I just heard it kind of mentioned, so if that comes.
And that's an option going forward.
Okay, but if it is, we need to understand what we're talking about. It's not just another easy loan. It has,
It requires a vote of the residents.
well, a rate increase or a vote of all residents
A
and
vote,
not
a vote of the resident, it has to
Yeah.
be approved by the voters. We cannot just do it.
a revenue bond could be rate increases. It could be by revenue.
The DNR, no.
The geo, it would be all residents, including the non Kirkwood water. And we just need to know that if that is at all on the table.
Was on the table to the water committee, and going forward, it was just kind of still out there, but taken off the table.
And I know the mayor mentioned it, so I didn't know.
Scheduling it in a future work session. All right. All right, I think we're finished then for now. So we'll get started again with council meeting at 7 o'clock. Right back here.